Hello and welcome back to the third channel. Yes, I know. I did just do an interview the day before. Depends on when you're watching this, but I did do the interview the day before. But look, I like the idea of looking really impressive that I've done loads of interviews when actually they're 3 weeks apart. So I like the impression of it looking more impressive than it is. Uh, and there will be more interviews from me later today if this all goes to all goes to plan and nothing goes wrong, all interviews that will be happening should be uploaded today. Plus, a very special thing that popped into my head beforehand is on TGM Production, which is the YouTube channel for the production company where I upload like bits of my like show reels and whatnot. There should be a Blue Peter Hello show reel added to it because I have a cracking idea what to do with the evidence and because I think that it would work as a concept. But I do the talking, but I also do the walking. So we'll see if it is a good concept when we come to edit it. So it might, if it doesn't, if it's a terrible concept, it won't be uploaded. But if it is a good concept, it will be uploaded. But who knows? But anyway, we shall crack on. My guest today, my wonderful, excellent guest, is best known for multitude of things, but best known in many eyes for Fifi and the Flower Tops. It's the one and only Mark Sill.
As he applauds himself. That's a very nice thing to say. Nice to meet you, Tom.
Nice to meet you. So we shall start at the beginning because Julie Andrews kept on saying it's a good place to start, and
Very
she
fine
hasn't
place.
from yet. How did you get into the world we call voice acting?
My heroes were always people that did that kind of stuff. I mean, you look around, you look around your room there, it's full of things that you love to do with shows that you adore. And it's kind of the same with me. So I grew up loving, Hanna-Barbera cartoons, Warner Brothers cartoons, uh, Danger Mouse, Paddington, Bagpuss, Kenny Everett, Monty Python, all these things, but especially influenced by people like Monty Python and Bill Hicks, like edgy comedy, as well as Muppets.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of Muppets and Jerry Anderson shows and all of it. There's a big connection between the things that I love, all these different kinds of shows, as well as the music of John Williams and those, all the, there's loads of stuff. But the thing that really got me as a kid was just seeing like behind the scenes documentaries.
yeah,
How do they make Star Wars? How do they make Raiders? How do they record voices for things? Who are the people that do them? And that to me was just magical to see. Once you look behind the scenes and you just see what's it like in a studio and how do the people work together? And oh my God, that's what the person of the voice of my favorite cartoon character. That's what she looks like. That's what he looks like. And there's a lot there that I was fascinated by. So I was just I think despite whatever it is you learn at school, that's with you the whole time.
yeah.
It doesn't matter what you studying necessarily, but that's the heart and soul of what was behind what I really love. And the last 2 years at school, I did a media course, and that kind of changed my life really, because at school I was probably, hang on, my ear roll keeps falling out. I need to get some blue tack. There we go. Other tacks are available. There we are. So at the last 2 years of school, I did this media course, which had a performance side to it, which made me think I nearly didn't do it because there was a performance side. And I was this kid at school, a teenager that was a bit the quieter person.
Yeah.
I wasn't the loud guy making the noise, as loud guys tend to do. I was, my interests were I was playing the piano. I was loving, learning about editing for video and things. So anyway, I did this. I decided to go for it, and as part of this course, I had to do a radio show, which terrified me because I just wanted to be the button guy. I wanted to be the guy on the mixing desk. I wanted to be the person directing other people, even though deep down I think I always knew that I could perform,
Yeah.
but I wasn't ready for that. And I was made to do this radio show, and it was like being pushed into the pool and learning you can swim pretty well.
Yeah.
And all this stuff that I love all came together at that point with this radio thing, which was comedy, music, entertainment, animation, kind of clips and things I was putting in there. And I sort of found myself in that. And I worked in radio for a good number of years, for like sort of 5 years or so. I did work experience at a radio station in Birmingham, and my work experience was filing vinyl records away in the record library.
yeah,
But when I'd finished doing my duties, I'd go and sneak into a studio and watch someone present a show,
yeah,
or go and watch. The thing that I learned a lot from was watching the people make commercials in the production studio.
yeah,
See the voiceovers for all these different commercials. Think, oh my God, that's what they look like. That's fantastic. But then I love being in the control room, watching how to use a mixing desk, or how to make someone sound like they're, on a spaceship, or how do you make someone sound like you're in a big echoey cave, reverberating cave. And so I taught myself how to use a mixing desk. And then when there was nobody there, I, as well as being at home, sort of taught myself how to perform stuff and character voices and bits. So worked at a radio station, became a good producer, did a radio show for a couple of years. And then it comes to the point, I think, with anybody that tends to be successful with, what they get up to creatively, you kind of go, really, what should I be doing day to day? I've got all these things I'm okay at, but what do I really, what's my real love? What should I really be doing? And there were two things I was good at. One was production, and the other was I was getting good at character performance and character, development and character creation. And so I thought, well, there's probably people in terms of producers and engineers that have read the instructions no more than I do.
yeah,
And also, I'm a decent producer, good producer, but I thought I was doing something that was really interesting and exciting with character voices.
yeah,
And so I used these production skills that I developed as a decent producer to create a show reel for myself. And it was really a tip of the hat of my, favorite character guys, because I didn't really know what I'm starting out. It's like if
yeah.
you're a musician, do you play an instrument?
I used to.
What was it?
I used to badly play the guitar.
Okay. So, when you're starting out,
Yeah,
you start to learn your favorite tunes by
yeah,
your heroes. And that's kind of like that with what I was doing. Same if you're an artist or whatever it might be, something creative. Your only points of reference to begin with are really your heroes. So you start by doodling your favorite cartoon characters, or noodling your favorite tunes on the guitar. And for me, it was me starting out learning how to do stuff by learning from my heroes. Like, one of them was a guy called Mel Blanc, who was Warner's go-to guy. He's a vocal legend. So he's the guy that you'd hear on kind of like everything really with Warner Brothers. So he was, you are despicable. This is the last time I work with someone with a speech impediment. And he was Daffy, and also uh, Sovereign Fuckatage. He was Sylvester. I tried to a pudding tat. You put your thorn pudding tat, that pudding tat of me. And say your prayers, you lop-eared varmint, or I'll blast you to smithereens. Or, oh, that's right, Fred. Don't tell Betty. He was so many character voices, and I loved the variety and the ability and the range of what he had. And what I learned from watching a lot of his work was he was more than just a guy doing, this is more than silly voices. He's an actor. He was
yeah,
a brilliant actor, and he knew how to bring all these different characters and sensibilities all in one story together. You'd hear him doing multiple characters one after each other. And that's really nice. That's right for it. And to be able to do that, there's a great guy called Don Messick, who I got to meet before I was doing this. I was still a fan, and I met him at an animation art gallery. And Don Messick, I saw him on an episode of Blue Peter.
yeah.
As you mentioned Blue Peter earlier, and there's this guy there, like in a sweater, and they just go, "Well, today's special guest is Don Messick. Tell him what you do, Don." He went, "Well, I am the voice of Scooby Dooby Doo." Like, it's really creepy, Scooby. And he was also the voice of, "Gee, Yogi, don't tell Ranger Smith about the picnic basket." He was super versatile, and he was the voice of Muttley's. I can't do it because I don't smoke. But all these, and there's a great guy, Dawes Butler, who was another animation legend at Hanna-Barbera. And so, he was Huckleberry Hound, and he's like this tiny little guy, but he goes from being, this tiny little, from being Huckleberry Hound in this tiny body to, hey, don't let me don't scare, it's just me, your favorite band, yay. And then Don Messick would come in and go, "Gee, Yogi, don't tell Ranger Smith about the picnic basket." Okay, And
Yeah.
you kind of go, this is magical.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from that, and basically it kind of went from there. When I asking how I started out, really, like with anyone creative, you got to let people know you're out there. Now, you've got to get good at what you do. Then you got to tell people you're good. And then, so once that happens, you got to showcase what you do. So with this kind of work, you need a show reel.
Yeah.
And so I become a good audio producer, and I put this show reel together of me doing I tip of the hat to my favorite cartoon character voices, as well as new stuff of mine.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just all that. It was just like a really good mix to just get some attention. And I sent out 10 show reels,
Mm.
cassettes, tapes. So yeah, retro. I sent 10 of those out, hoping I get a 1 in 10 response. Because you know what it's like. You'll get in touch with people. It doesn't mean they'll always get back in touch with you. And so I was hoping for just one person to get back in touch with me out of 10 people. And so I sent 10 show reels out. I had 13 responses.
Yeah.
Uh, and so it kind of went cassette viral. And what happened was it was entertaining. So people had shared it around, and that kind of so things started to get good like so fairly early on. I was very fortunate that people liked what I was sending them.
Yeah. And you mentioned there about the behind the scenes, and I completely understand where you come from. I think behind the scenes for anything, even if you've got a semi passion in the thing, I still think a behind the scenes is worth it. So I don't know if I've ever publicly said this, but I don't like SNL. I don't think it's my kind of comedy. But the behind the scenes
Mm.
program about it was brilliant because it was seeing behind the scenes. Even though I don't have interest in the program, I have interest in the process.
Have
And
you
I
watched the
think,
film?
yeah,
The
uh,
new film Saturday
but
Night?
no, there was they did a TV series. It was about the history of
Yes, yeah, I saw that.
now,
Yeah,
including some bits of what they did now, and there was a bit where they did the Twilight Zone, where they took the mick out of Twilight Zone and
yep.
talked about the year that almost got the show cancelled in a Twilight Zone esque. But I think that the only time that behind the scenes really upset me is when they did the Simpsons behind the scenes because you find out that Bart is played by a woman, and you think this is brilliant that she can do the voice expression, but it also then just breaks it down, going, what? You never expect to use. I always thought it was an actual small child for years,
So
and
she's
it's
doing it right then.
yeah.
I
And
used to think Scooby Doo was real.
yeah, and so one of the things you've worked on that I think personally, you probably know this more of a on an industry level, but I think that this style of animation, other than other than what Shaun the Sheep and them lot. I think the
Hmm.
style of animation sort of faded away in popularity. But what was it like working on the brilliant, the memorable Fifi and the Flower Tops?
I love that. It's lovely that you choose that show because I'm very fond of that show, and the one that came after it, Roy the racing car, Fifi and the Flower Tots. It was like working with this. We became really, it was like a family,
Yeah,
which it's quite a special thing to be part of that. It's more than just going to work. You're looking forward to seeing everybody in that room, and it was a brilliant crew. From the writers, the directors, the cast, the musicians, everything, something that I loved. Well, Fifi and the Flower Tots Fifi and the Flower Tots is a stop motion animation created by the guy behind it. It's Keith Chapman, who's the guy that created Bob the Builder. I'm the guy you heard as Bob the Builder in America for nearly a decade. So as a sidetrack, you'd hear me going, "Hi, Bob the Builder here. Can we fix it? Yes, we can." So come on, Fifi. Oh, it's a different show. So, um, so Fifi and the Flower Tots. It's a beautifully animated stop motion show, and Jane Horrocks, fantastic.
yeah,
She's Fifi, and I'm Bumble and Slugsy, and there's this incredible stop motion animation world, created up at Cosgrove Hall Studios, and it's just incredible work. And something I loved with that, whenever we would record Fifi up in Manchester, um, was just well, it was just the idea of being able to go to Cosgrove Hall and just look around their studios. So I'm
Yeah.
there for work or, whatever it was we were working on. But the ability to go around and see the sets and see the model makers and see Bridget, who was she's like Mommy Cosgrove, and her incredible design studio, her workshop, and on Bridget's in her office there were like two, three shelves, and it was like a museum, a legacy of British animation legends, everything from Wind in the Willows to Chorlton and the Wheelies to you name a stop motion character and it was there.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating. If you get a chance to go and see behind the studio on anything practical, do it because it's just an absolute treat.
Yeah.
So Fifi, we recorded it pretty much in London actually, and it was Jane Horrocks and myself, and the cast was great. Um, and the scripts were funny. It was a funny, adorable, very warm and endearing show. And so I'm Bumble, who's this little boy bee that's allergic to pollen. So bouncing blueberries, Fifi, is a little bit buttoned up. So he's like, Bumble, he's lovable and adorable, but a bit. So, you have a little sneeze like that. And you'd hear him go, Fifi, forget me not, forgot, which he'd helpfully point out to her every time she forgot something. And then the other one was that I'm the voice of in that show is Slugsy, who is this very lovable, huggable slug. And he's lovable and huggable and a bit moist because I'm a slug, Mr. Mason. Nice to meet you, Tom. Stingo! So he was a fantastically fun guy to perform. And I still go back to that. There's certain things where you said it quite accurately, about being you picked that. What was it? Why was it that you picked that show? Because I genuinely love working on that. It's a fantastic show. But what was it that made you pick that one up?
Well, so if in the era, that's a poor choice of word, but in the realm of the years when I was a child,
Mm.
right, I'm not any taller, but when I was a child, that was the shows I watched. So it's Bob the Builder, Rory and the Race, and Feet were the programs that were on, and I think Thief in the Past has got one of those really, and it's annoying, but it's the way my brain works. It's got a memorable theme tune, and
Oh
no
yeah.
matter where you are stood, if you aren't thinking of another TV theme tune, you are thinking of that one because it's memorable, and it's one of those. It's like you know that that style of animation is brilliant because you don't see it as much now, but it's the way the whole program operated was
Yes.
just
It was
incredible.
terrific stop motion animation. And the puppets, the stop motion puppets, were made by McKinnon Saunders, who are I'm sure you know this, but McKinnon Saunders are the stop motion puppet people that do the stuff for the big guys. So they made the armatures, like the skeleton that sits inside the skin of the actual character, so that every little joint is movable inside these puppets. So when they move the character frame at a time, you can create this beautiful fluid movement in the actual character's puppet. So McKinnon Saunders are the people that made the puppets for the stop motion puppets for Tim Burton, Wes Anderson, the new Pinocchio movie. They worked on that. They've worked on some pretty good stuff. Even Mars Attacks, originally that the alien was originally considered to be stop motion, and so they've got the original one of those there. But to be part of that was great, and I adore stop motion. I think there's something with stop motion and puppetry where you're drawn to it, especially because you knew it existed. It's real. You feel you know that actually has been filmed in. There's a thing there. You feel you could reach in and hold it, touch it. There's something special about practical effects that I just find I connect with more than anything. Because it actually existed. But and you mentioned about the theme tune to Fifi. Do you know who sang that theme?
No, I would know the name. Is
Kim
it?
Goody.
Wow.
Yeah, another TV legend. So Kim Goody was on Play School, and she was on. I'm pretty sure was she on Hold Tight as well. She was an absolute star on like 80s TV, but she's got a fantastic voice. and she's also a good coach because I'm not a trained singer, despite the evidence to the contrary. Don't you know? And we sang a good number of songs in Fifi, and there was one called "Slug Love," and which was Slugsy singing to Fifi. No, Primrose. It was singing to Primrose from Fifi all one right. Singing to Primrose, and and she was great at giving you just a tiny bit of direction, just to put you in the right place. And there's this lovely episode where Slugsy sings to Primrose, and it's all sweet, sweet love from a slug. Primrose, won't you dine with me? I just really like tender, gentle song. And then in the middle of it, there's this big operatic section where he like blows the roof off the place, and you go, "My God!" It's like his Nessun Dorma moment. That's how they referred to it,
Yeah.
and it's really it's sort of eye-wateringly good. It's quite a touching moment in the show. But we sang a lot of stuff, and they were Alan Coates and Kim Goody. They are the people behind Soho Square Studios. So as well as being, the people that are taking care of that operation, they're also brilliant musicians and creatives themselves. So Kim's comes from that background. She was on TV and she's a brilliant performer. And Alan was in the Hollies.
Wow.
So, you're it's good stock. There's some, and again, walking into that studio, it was more than just the show. It's the crew as well. You go to that studio and you feel, you've arrived at probably my favorite studio in London. Oh,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things where you feel like this is where you want to be, you know. But
Yeah.
I really adored working on Fifi, and we did a lot of that, and we became there was some good friendships made with that, and that still stay. And then after that was Rory the racing car.
Yeah, and I think that what I really like before I get on to my other point, what I really like about not just stop motion, but things that require something that on screen, because the way it's filmed, looks massive, but when you
Mm,
really look at it in person, it's small. Is I quite like the when you it Thunderbirds is the best example because I just
mm.
think even though I wouldn't want to do it myself because it would just be too scary to if you get it wrong. But I like how when you do effects, they're real. So you only have one shot with an explosion in Thunderbirds that might look incredibly impressive. And on the outset, it's really not as impressive, but it's still a daunting task because you might mess up if it goes wrong, unless you've got time to rebuild everything. It's a struggle. And do you reckon that things like that, when things go wrong and not easy to fix, do you reckon that that's why stop motion, in the sense of what it was, isn't used as much on children's TV than it used to be when it years ago?
Not especially. I think a big thing with stop motion is it costs money
Yeah,
because you need to have things that are created for it to be a set. I mean, it could be an issue what you just mentioned, but I think it's probably more to the fact of you need, it takes more time because you need real people, real, professionals on set
yeah,
animating these things, and it costs money because you need to have all these figures. All these, you need to have new sets, you need to have new costumes, things break down. There's a lot of cost and time involved, and talent. There's uh, I've got a number of friends who are stop motion geniuses, and I mean Tim Allen. He works on like everything to do with stop motion, and if there's someone animating something, you bring Tim in, and it'll be fine. He worked on Pinocchio. He's worked on. I'm pretty sure he did Corpse Bride. He's your guy, and yeah, I think a big part of it is down to time and expense in particular. Whereas, in terms of if you break it down to the bare bones of it, when you look at, say, the early versions of South Park,
yeah,
where it's literally cutouts on that original card
yeah,
thing they put together in the very early days, that's kind of cheap. It's not cheap now, but it it's like a really good joke. Doesn't matter how much money you spend on it. It's either funny or it's not. So there's basics that that will work whatever medium you put them in. But in terms of the way it's presented on screen, I'm still a massive fan of stop motion because it's so endearing. You know, it's there's something special about stop motion that, I like the fact that there's been a creative team involved with it. I love the fact that it feels real. You
Yeah,
know that there's a real thing that existed. One of the things when you hear people that like, well, I was watching something really recently with Ewan McGregor talking about Star Wars, and he was saying about just acting to a green box. Just it was completely green screen, and how I think he was delivering a baby, holding whoever it was, and I think the difference as a performer that you achieve when you're reacting to something that's real, it's
yeah,
just going to be different to how it would be if you're imagining in it. Imagining it. There's something how there's a reality because you hear people about authenticity and just being real and all that stuff, and the truth is, when something's real, or you tend to connect with something when it's real. I mean, here's the thing, like with again talking about different ways of creating entertainment, a thing that makes you want to watch it. I was talking to a friend about this a couple of days ago because he was saying about budgets and the time it takes and all this. And I was sort of saying how even just viewing habits and what and how we watch stuff has changed so much, obviously over the past 15 years or so, even more recently. And I said, still, one of the funniest things I've seen in a long, long time is on YouTube, and it's the video of a dog wearing a woman's dentures. I must have watched it like 20 times, and it's brilliant. And it's just a thing where this dog picked up this woman's dentures. Yeah, got this really. Have you seen it?
no, I don't think I've seen
It's the
that.
best. I'll send it to you. You stick it in the link on the show notes. It's fantastic. There's a couple of them. And this dog with a pair of woman's dentures. It's just a stroke of genius. Now, it doesn't matter how much you spent on a stop motion set or how little you spent on a not a stop motion set, it wouldn't be any funnier than this moment that just happened spontaneously as a dog picking up her dentures, walking around the bedroom, and hearing her laugh. You can't make that up. Well, you can, but it would be so contrived that you've lost the moment. It's this awkward moment that she shot on a camera phone of this little pup wearing her teeth.
Yeah.
And so and there's a lesson in there somewhere, which is what in the end, all of this stuff needs an audience, and and they've captured something real that you just connect with, and there's take from that what you will. But I think it's an interesting time right now in terms of technology and other stuff coming along to change how people create things. And you look at where the big numbers are, and it isn't necessarily regular, traditional TV anymore, which is which is exciting for new creators
Yeah. And when
and dogs that wear women's dentures.
and when you mention about the stop motion process, and I think, and no one's ever beaten it since or explained how it even comes about, but this the bloke that made Robot Chicken, he does this really inventive thing that I've always wanted to do, but I don't have the technical skills. So he has a Nintendo Power Glove
Yeah.
that he's programmed to be the record. So instead of him pressing the camera, he presses it on the buttons on the Nintendo Power Glove that he
Yes.
operates to his thing. And I think that more people should use old technology with new technology, because I do think it's a genius move because it saves time leaning over to a camera because you might nudge something. That's
Yeah.
every time I do stop motion, something goes wrong because I've always nudged something by accident.
Well, again, you just said something that connects with me well. You said nudge. I'm a massive fan of pinball, right? Pinball machines, old, good old vintage arcade games, that stuff. Love that. That's what I grew up with, and I collect pinball machines. And so there's something, you could, when I was a kid, I had a Commodore Amiga
Yeah.
computer. That was after my BBC Micro. It was marvelous. And the reason I wanted the Commodore Amiga was a friend of mine had a game called Pinball Fantasies.
Mm.
It was fantastic. And it's this, virtual pinball machine on your Commodore Amiga. Well, fast forward to now, to actually play, the pinball has had this massive resurgence,
Yeah,
and there's something super cool about playing a pinball machine where it's real, like the stop motion equivalent compared to, say, CGI.
yeah,
Both have their place, but when you think of, you've got this pinball machine with its your balls, and you got all these different sculpts and these paths and the geometry, and it's fast moving, it's action packed. It's kind of cool,
yeah,
and there's something that a screen, if it was just a screen, it would
yeah,
still be a really great game, but it isn't quite the same as when you've got the action of real mechanics.
yeah.
And there's actually the timing of that's quite interesting because I've been working with a company in the States called Multimorphic, and they've just released Portal, the pinball machine.
Wow,
So Portal's, this legendary game, and the story now continues with the pinball real world version of Portal.
wow,
So you got this full-size pinball cabinet, but instead of it just being a piece of wood with the all the fantastic artwork on the wood that the ball like flies around on all the other bits and pieces, it's an actual screen, a
wow,
fantastic HD and the rest screen. And so, as well as all the so the top third, say, of this machine
yeah,
is all the mechanics and really cool stuff going on. It's really impressive, really physical at the top, and then the screen is below it, so you feel like there's lasers firing at your balls. That's not right, is it? You there's lasers firing at your balls. What a hobby. Something to do with it. We all need things to do. Isn't it nice to find new things to spend your time with? So, but this screen is incredible. So
yeah.
it adds this whole new dimension to the game.
Mm,
And so, you can feel like, you feel like you're falling down into this whole new level, all this, the
wow,
massive environmental changes, while still the geometry and the technical side of what they've achieved at the top is so immersive and true to the nature of Portal. But they got the original voice of Portal is in this as well, and then I'm there as your friendly sidekick.
wow,
So it's I would, if I was you, Tom, I would absolutely treat myself. And that only came out a
yeah,
week ago.
wow. And one of the things you've done, speaking of technological advances, that I think the music video is the technological advance because obviously well, apart from one element, the audio's pretty much the one element's very obvious, but it's hilarious. So, what was it like working on the 2009 animated Peter Kay single for Children in Need, which the music video was phenomenal?
Oh, that was very special because it was everything. It
Yeah,
was all your favorite animated characters together in one video. And again, if it wasn't for Children in Need, for the charity side of it, I don't know whether that would have happened. So, and it was great. So I'd known Peter for a good while since then because we'd been working on Rory the Racing Car together. And so I was brought in for this. And I was, but I'm pretty sure, is Bumble in there? I think Bumble might be in there.
I think most of the people in the podcast.
Everything's in there. Yeah. So, yeah. So name a legendary British animation character, and they were in there. I mean, but I ended up. I know what I ended up being the voice of. I'm pretty certain I ended up being the voice of. Was I the voice of Parker or Brains in it? You couldn't hear it because there were so many of us.
Yeah,
But it was like, yes, milady, singing the thing. But it was great because again, we recorded it at Soho Square Studios. Yes, we did. I'm just jogging my memory for full scientific accuracy. We recorded it at Soho Square Studios, which is where we'd been recording Rory and Fifi. And yeah, it's just this thing where they worked very hard and brought everything together, and it still looks great now.
it does. And I think the only issue I have with it
Uh-oh.
is that the because I don't know if it's due to one version being popular than the other. But when they have Tutty, Sweep, and Sue, because it's they're on a screen, they could have used if they still had access to the original drawing. They're going to use the animated versions of them because they did
Mm,
the animated Sooty series,
mhm.
Sooty's Adventure, which was, and I think they could have used them because then they could have had Sooty running around instead of him looking gormless. Because he did.
Gormless, great
Because
word.
Sooty can't do much on a charity single. He's there, but you can't
Gormless.
really say much because that's the whole point of him. So I just think it's hilarious that they chose him to be in it because he's not going to do much. Everyone else,
You
even
brutal Tom.
even Muffin could do more than Sooty.
Wow, dissing Sooty.
Yeah, well,
Wait, wait till Phil Fletcher finds out about that.
I love Sooty, but I do think that he was just there on a monitor.
Looking gormless.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And I think that what makes it really good was not if you take away the charity element, because that even though that's a key point of it, I think the whole concept of the music video, because you can because of the music video having a story at the beginning
Yeah,
and then it joining up at the end,
yep.
I think that's what makes it a piece of art rather than
Yeah.
just a single. Is because there's still a story at the end of it because all about it's all about Peter Kay and all about his character wanting to get all these people together. He didn't work out the logistics, but he wanted them all there somehow. He wanted them all there, and I think that that makes it perfect because there's a story. You know that he's not thought it through properly, but he's managed to solve and get everyone on board, no matter what type of animation they are 2D, 3D, 4D,
Yeah.
stop motion, they're all there.
You've thought this through very well.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with your research and your knowledge. I had no idea you could be so brutal.
And do you reckon that that type of thing would have happened even if it wasn't a part of children? Do you reckon that it would have been enough to generate that thing to happen by itself instead of just for the charity?
I think the fact that it's for a charity helps it massively. But in terms of entertainment, it's just entertainment. You know, it's just a fantastic thing to watch. You know, it's a great it's like great music and it's like your absolute wish list of all your favorite characters all in one place together. So whether you know whatever it was for, whether it was for a charity, and I'm glad it was, or just for a piece of entertainment, it works on any level because it's just good. You just want to spend your time watching it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
I'd say it's on a similar level to the
yeah.
dog wearing the woman's detentions.
Yeah, and I think that charity singles in that sense, rather than just having usual charity single, but having a children's based charity single, I think that
Oh
they always,
yeah.
in my opinion, they always stick out more. So, for example, the one they did quite recently with all the puppets in it, and you have the fact that it's all the whole story of that is that they don't want Mr. Blobby involved, so he's always just hanging around the windows and trying to get in, and everyone else is and all your favorite characters. And do you reckon that that's what makes it popular because it's not just what's happening; it's because it's your favorite character.
I
It's
think
there.
it's every. I think there's a number of things. First of all, it's funny. There's
Yeah,
that, and then the fact of there's a lot to be said for nostalgia, and there's the reason why we go back and play old TV shows or movies that we like, or we go and play our favorite vintage computer games, anything like that. It's or comics. Pick a thing. It's that,
yeah,
and the fact that. The fact that you sit there going, oh, I used to watch that as a kid. That's fantastic, and it's still funny now.
yeah,
It's there's a lot to be said for that. So it also shows the strength of these characters in the shows that you still care and that they still have an effect on you. And they've really stood the test of time well. You mentioned Thunderbirds earlier. I again I adore the Jerry Anderson shows.
yeah,
Absolute massive fan of those shows. And I work with his son Jamie Anderson now on new shows
yeah,
and new projects. So we've been recording new Stingray episodes, and I'm the voice of Troy Tempest,
yeah.
Captain Troy. So okay, Marina, let's go. Fire sting missiles. What's that, Fonz? Okay. Don't tell Commander Shore this stuff. And we've done new stuff for Fireball XL5 too, audio tracks for that. So it's like, okay, Venus, okay, Steve, right, let's go. Him. You
Yeah,
know? But there's this amazing connection that kind of happened, total coincidence.
yeah,
So my friend Richard Taylor, brilliant musician, amazing musical director, just hugely talented. I met him when I was starting out, and when I first bought my first kit to basically learn how to do this stuff.
yeah,
So I thought, my future, when I was starting out, I thought my future is going to be being freelance, really, and doing my own thing rather than just working for one place. So oh God, I'd have been 20 when I was 20. No, 19. I was 19 or 20. And I went and bought the best recording kit I could
yeah.
with £1,000. I got my savings I'd saved up, and my mum and dad let me sell the family piano. And I went, and there's this guy who became a good friend, Richard, and I got the kit from him. Anyway, we became mates. And this one day, I went round to where he lives, and he kind of go, "What the hell is this place?" Because this was no ordinary house. It's this huge thing. And then on the outside, it said Hollick and Taylor Studio. Oh no, Grosvenor Studios. It said it was on Grosvenor Road in Birmingham. And I went upstairs, and as I went through, I thought, "Hang on, this looks like studios." And he introduced me to his mom, Jean, who's lovely. And then he said, "This is my dad, John." I went, "Hello." It was a real gentleman. And it came together. It's like, "Oh my God, you're John Taylor. You're Thunderbird sound guy, John Taylor." And he was my friend Rich's dad.
Wow.
And I ended up doing little bits of like a work for a week with him, assisting him at the studio, doing bits and pieces again. And they had this fantastic studio there. They recorded big bands and Shirley Bassey, and there's a champagne cork in the ceiling where somebody, it might have been Shirley Bassey, or was it? I think Shirley Bassey. Yeah. Where they lit off champagne in the studio to celebrate some huge success. And the thing's still in the ceiling. But
Wow.
but yeah, so that's one Thunderbirds connection.
Yeah,
And then my friend Alison, who I got to know, she's a brilliant producer and creative, and she knows what she's doing. And she runs a thing called Mission Accomplished, and she's very a very accomplished woman in her own right for just bringing things together and making stuff happen for people and training as well. Anyway, her dad is Michael Grade.
yeah.
Michael Grade used to run the BBC. Michael Grade's dad was Lou Grade. Lou Grade greenlit Thunderbirds
Wow.
and Stingray and
Yeah.
the others and the Muppet Show.
It's like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
It really is. It's quite the 6 degrees of Jerry Anderson shows.
Yes, yes. There is a comedian called Will Smith, British comedian who was in the thick of it. He has a thing where he does these 6 degrees of Bergerac, where he gets someone gives him an element, and then he would then try and translate that back into a Bergerac episode.
That's
He also
fantastic.
did a radio show where he used Bergerac as the basis of the radio program. It's all about John Nettles reading it's like a Buddhist audio book, and so he just said, "What would Jim Bergerac do?" As he's trying to translate the different realms of all these Buddhist things that John Nettles.
Buddhist Bergerac.
Yeah. Uh,
I worked with John Nettles.
yeah,
I worked
yeah.
with John Nettles, and it was on Cindy, the movie.
Wow.
I'm pretty certain John was a bad guy. No, hang on, was John the bad guy? John was in it,
Yeah.
and the other star was Rick Mayall.
Wow.
And we were all in the room together, and it was the most fantastic recording session. It's Rick Mayall, it's Young Ones, and everything else, and Blackadder, and name it, it's him.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was. Oh my God, it was one of those days where you go, yeah, I'm so privileged to be in this room. But that was a hell of a exciting thing to work on. I was the handsome prince, naturally. And there were three projects that you hear my voice next to Rick's, and one of them was called "Don't Fear Death," and then there was a game we worked on called Hogs of War. Hogs of War. Oh, Yeah, you're very silly. And yeah, again, just to be part of that, it's gold dust time.
Yeah. And what are the things you've worked on? And I always, whenever I mention this area, I always talk about how it's helping save a format because of the way that because TV because it became popular,
Hmm.
radio didn't wasn't as mainstream as it was, as in not everyone was gathering around at a certain time to listen to the radio because they were doing the same element for TV.
Yes.
And and so, what was it like working on a Fourth Doctor audio adventure for the world of the most expensive world you can live in, due to the fact that I've got loads of them and there's so many to buy
You
and
are
collect.
good.
What's it? What's it like working on a Fourth Doctor Big Finish audio drama?
That's fantastic. Honestly, Tom, thank you for taking the time to, be aware of all this stuff. It means a lot to me. It's pretty cool. And again, for them to bring me into this is a real treat. To be part of the Doctor Who universe is pretty magical. Yeah, it's great. We did the first one worked on. The whole cast is there, and I did them all remotely. The first one that I was in, possibly. So
Yeah,
we did it remotely from here. But my background, like we were saying earlier, is a recording engineer and producer. So it's a nice little studio here. This is the voice booth.
yeah.
In fact, I'll give you the tour, quick tour, just before while we get sidetracked. Over here is a collection of legendary animation art bits. Over there, some nice bits. We've got Go Jetters there, as well as, oh, looks like a Star Wars head and a sorting hat. And over here, my little pup, Honey, my little girl. Honey, meet Tom. Tom, Honey. There we are. And then we got oh, there's a Bumble from Fifi.
Oh, yeah, there is.
And then over here, hidden away is a Kermit. And then there's all my tech bits. There we go. Put that back down there. Right. So we're back to Bergerac. What was the question?
It was about working. It was about working in the realms of working on the Fourth Doctor audio drama
Yes.
because
It
it
was it was a treat. It was lovely to have all those characters and hearing those because Tom Baker's in the one that I'm in.
yeah,
And again, to be in anything that to be in the same country as Tom Baker is a privilege.
yeah.
My friend Scott, hang on, is this camera level? I've just moved the camera to show you my because I think the level is really important in this kind of. There we are. Are you happy with the level of the camera now, Tom?
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Okay, we'll continue then. Um, my friend Scott is a great engineer, producer, director, and like years ago he worked with Tom Baker, and Tom Baker came in, and it was he just like he tore Scott a new one. Really, it was just. It. Apparently, Tom Baker was a bit late and might have had a beverage. Don't know for certain. He might have just been like a coffee like me, having a coffee. Anyway, he came in and he didn't like the script, and so he basically told Scott and the other people from the agency like where to go, what was wrong with it, and how awful it was. And Scott sent me a recording. I've still got it now and it's about 5 minutes worth of Tom Baker ripping him a new one. Don't you tell me how to read the effing script or I'll F off and go back to the effing camera shop. It's great. There's a moment where, and he's right. He was right because he says, "How about we started by going, listen, listen. That'll draw in."
Yeah,
And-
it is.
It's just fantastic. And again, that's much more entertaining than the commercial
Yeah,
because you go, if the whole commercial was just that, and it goes, Bob's Gym, join now, half price entry for a month. If you go, yeah, I'm going to go.
yeah, and I think that Tom Baker is one of those people that I know for a fact that they've recorded a back catalogue of audios that are coming out every so often with him,
Yeah,
and I always think that if unfortunately he passes away during it, and not everyone realizes, you'll still hear his voice
yeah,
because he's got audios for years to come. So if you look at the schedule for 2027 or 2038, there's an audio.
2038.
He's got
That's a
audio.
lot of recordings, Tom.
They both record them because obviously you want
Yeah.
to make the actors whilst the iron's hot.
Yeah.
Well, not whilst the iron's hot, they'll burn themselves. But you want to get them. And one of the other things,
But total legend, absolute national global treasure. We
yeah.
love Tom.
And one of the other things you've done, not just in the world of TV,
Hmm.
what was it like working on I would say the phenomenon, phenomena, or well known because I think that even if you don't play video games, you will know this character. What was it like working on Little Big Planet 2?
Oh my God. Um, I I remember seeing the first one, and it was very impressive with what they'd done. This is on PlayStation, right? And
Yeah,
the level of the animation and the quality of the characters, it felt like we were seeing something new again. You know, every now and then you go, "Oh, I've never seen anything like that. This is completely fresh," and that's what Little Big Planet was. And then I don't remember what I did on the second. I know I was in it, but it was. Oh, you maybe want to play it again now. Yeah, but I just remember being very proud of the fact that I was brought in to be part of this world when I'd enjoyed the first one so much.
yeah.
So thank you to the people that made the first one so good.
And do you reckon that when you're doing voices, because obviously on TV, you've got more to work with because you've got the footage, you've got like a storyline to follow,
Hmm.
say that is actually going to happen. When you record voice for a video game, is it a lot harder because you have to make sure that there's multiple different options if your character might say one thing if you press that button, and might say another if you go down that path? Do you reckon that it's harder to do a video game as a voice actor than a TV show?
I think it's just different. Recording for games compared to recording for animation or you know a radio drama or whatever it might be, they're different kinds of processes. So like you said, for a game you're recording all these different potential options because of all the variants of what can happen at various points of the game, whereas in a movie or an animation or TV thing, it would be it'd be a linear path where you know, you're recording the scenes in order and you get to the end and that's the end, whereas there is no specific end when you're recording a game, you know, and you have to make sure that everything is covered. So you tend to be recording when we're doing animation. Often, if possible, we're recording it in order of the episode. So you go through and you're performing that, and then there's light and shade. So it starts here, they go to there, bit of peril. Oh, everything's normal. I'm back again, and the end, and then we all live happily ever after.
So when this is one of those things that it probably depends on the medium that
Hmm.
the thing you're doing is made into. But as a voice actor, does it depend on the medium when you think of what type of voice you're going to do for that character? Does it depend on what medium so if you're doing for TV, would it depend on if it's 2D or 3D or do you reckon
No, no.
the same process overall?
Yeah, that's an interesting. I've never been asked that question. If I've never even thought of that question. You're a smart cookie, Tom. You should get extra points. You get extra Tom points. So when you're creating a character, when you're creating a character voice, you're doing what you think will work well within the story, or you know, within what kind of personality does that character have? What kind of things will he be doing within each episode, or you know, throughout the film? The story it's story driven. So I don't really think it would make any difference as to whether it was an animation or a game, a film, a theme park adventure, a live show. In the end, what might happen is the way you perform it might be different.
Yeah,
Yes. So if it was a live show, say it was a big arena show, or something at a big, you know, Universal Studios are just opening up their Epic Universe theme park, which is, you know, literally within weeks this opens, and it is just stunning. If you want to see an exercise in brilliance and creative innovation and storytelling and perfection in the design, the construction, the technology, everything, it looks like it's going to blow anything else out the water. So if you're going to do a performance that's in a big arena, you might do it a little bit slower
yeah,
because of the ambient, because of the echo in an arena. That's why, if you went cash in number four, please, it might not walk away as well as cash in number four, please. Yeah. Well, maybe you have something a bit more creative than that at the new theme park. But the way you perform it for different environments can make a difference, yeah. But in terms of how you make the decision of how a character could or should sound, um, it's really dependent on the story you're telling rather than the medium it's appearing in. So whether it's a cartoon or a new game or a film, it doesn't really make that much difference.
Yeah. And one of the most popular things that I keep on seeing that sort of confuse me slightly because it's even though the medium of it might seem easy to do on the stage, the outcome just seems a little bit confusing why they would go in that way. But when you do those big live shows where it's it's a mascot costume rather than if it's like a puppet show, it might be a
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it for voice recording for them. Would you get told what the routine is, what the movement is, and what's going to happen on stage, so that when you record the audio, you've got an idea of what it'll look like on stage, or do you just go in without knowing what's going to happen on the stage? You just have to read what you've been given.
These are really good questions. Yes is the answer. So yes, you do get, but in the same way, it's the same as if it was an animation or any performance. So you're given direction as to what's happening at that point in time. So if they're running from the one side to the other, you're going to want it to sound like, okay, I'm coming, okay, nearly there, woo, and woo, that was close. As opposed to, okay, if you go, okay, I'm coming, yeah, really close, okay, got it. You when you're performing the thing, you're performing it to make yourself live and breathe in that particular moment. So if someone's running all there going woohoo, that's probably more appropriate than woohoo.
Yeah,
But having said that, it depends on the context. I did a thing recently where someone just wrote woohoo, and that's what we did, and it was funnier because of it.
yeah,
That's good fun. Woohoo!
yeah. And as we come to this point in the interview where people got to know you more and they've stuck around,
I feel like we're
what
good friends now.
and
Thank you for
what
sticking around.
what advice would you give someone that's watching this that might want to get into or look into the world of voice acting? What advice would you give them if they were starting from day number one scratchio?
I'd say you do it. It's like with anything, whether it's a musical instrument or art or dancing, any kind of performance, do it. And right now, you might feel, well, I'm in a part of the world that there's nothing around me that achieves that. I grew up living in Birmingham, and I was told that to be successful, you have to go down to London or be in Manchester. Well, I didn't buy that because I thought, you know what? I've seen trains. I know ways to get places. But what I'd say to anyone starting now is do it. And there's three things I would say: get good, tell people you're good, keep being good.
Yeah,
It's that. So, like with anything, get good, be the absolute best you can be. Nail your craft because there's a lot of competition and there's a lot of other people that would want to do this. And so, be the absolute best you can be in whatever niche you decide this is your speciality. With you might be a very versatile performer, or you might do one thing really well. Because in the end, it's acting. This is all acting. Any of these characters, the reason why you love any particular character in any film or animation TV show is because the acting was so good and the stories were so good, and you just buy it and you want more, and you want to watch it again. So learn how to do that. Be the absolute best and give people a reason to go to you rather than somebody else. So get good, then tell people you're good. Because if you got good and you don't tell people you're good, that's no good. So you got to record a show reel or package together a show reel
yeah,
showing you at your absolute best with no filler. So if all you have is 50 seconds of greatness, that's now your show reel, because that's better than 2 minutes of 50 seconds of goodness and so you want to make sure that people trust your judgment. You're a busy fella. if I send you something to listen to, if the first little bit's good but the rest of it's junk, well, you kind of go, well, he thought that was good enough to send me. It isn't. So, oh, but all of what they've sent me is good. Now, so get good, tell people you're good, showcase yourself well, make friends, go to events, make connections, um, be true to yourself, and also the way that you showcase yourself, decide who do I want to work with. In an ideal world, if I could work with anyone, who are the people I'm actually looking to work with? Well, tailor it to them, and then keep being good.
Yeah,
Because it's very easy to get to a point where you go, look at me doing okay, and then you rest on your laurels. Well, the moment you do that, you probably don't deserve it because there'll be other people working really hard wanting that. So, like with anything, you turn up on time, you be nice to people. It's all the obvious starting points, and you keep doing that,
yeah,
and
and
hopefully it works out okay.
yeah. And one of the things that you do as well, as we come towards the end of this interview, that I think that because you're in the world of Doctor Who, you've got every right to do it, because I just think it's one of the greatest things ever. Is what's it like when you're at a convention and you get people come up to you, because of your career being so vast and wide, and because generations and many ages and your things span for many ages. What's the feeling when you get someone coming up to you and talking to you about something that you might not have thought about for 10, 15 years?
It's incredible, and it means a great deal to me. And I love meeting people who have enjoyed or who enjoy the work that I've been fortunate enough to do. So I know I'm a fan. So I know how much it means to me when I meet people at these conventions that I love their work to
Yeah,
actually just say hello and say thank you. So it means a lot to me when people want to come and say hello and thanks, and they'll bring something to sign that's their favorite game or film or animation or whatever it might be. I even had someone ask me to sign a Shrek script recently. I'm not
wow.
in Shrek. I said, I'm not in Shrek. They went, yeah, but I bought it earlier. Would you just sign it though? I went, yeah, of course I will. I said, to Bob, to Bob, I am not in this film. Mark Silk, voice actor. I'm not in this, Mark. It doesn't matter. It's just fun. But it's the most amazing way to spend a day around this fantastic buzz, and I mean, the stuff as well that I hadn't thought about when I first got into this, where you realize the effect some of these shows can have on people's lives in quite a profound way.
Yeah,
Not just I really enjoyed that piece of entertainment, but it actually did something to make them happy at a time when they needed it. I had a letter from somebody a couple of weeks ago, and it was the mom of a guy called Cameron, and she said she it was this handwritten letter, which in itself is lovely that someone took the time to write an actual letter, and it said her son, she had an autistic son, and the Lingo show. I'm the voice of this character called Lingo. The Lingo Show. You'll learn new words you'll want to know. Hop diddly do. And it said the Lingo Show, in particular, what I did in Lingo. She said it helped her son learn how to deal with people and how to deal with language, and it really helped him in a very positive way throughout school.
yeah,
And then she mentioned some other very nice things. And for someone to take the time to tell you that, the fact that in itself that happened, that's pretty special to know that it's something that you did that at the time was it was a job. We're creating a show. But it's more than a job to me. I want to be in the room, and this means a great deal to me to be able to do this. It's a privilege. But for it to have that kind of impact on someone, that when you're doing it, you're not thinking about that. You just want to do the best possible performance to make the show as good as it can be. But to know that it's had that effect on someone's day or their life it's quite amazing. So I I got hold of a publicity picture of Lingo and signed it for him, and then sent him some other bits and just said thank you. I just wrote a note back to them. But that's one of the things at Comic Cons. You'll also see people that are just amazing walking around there dressed up as their favorite character. I did a Comic Con recently in Exeter, and the most fantastic guy called Riley came up to me. I must send this to Riley. He I was signing something for somebody else, a game, I think it was. And I looked down, and in front of the table where I was sat were a pair of big fluffy feet. What the hell's this? And my eyes like just scanned up, and it's this guy, and he made a Flash the Rabbit costume. I played this character called Flash the Rabbit from Rory the Racing Car. He was a little tinker. Yeah, and he made this amazing Flash the Rabbit costume.
Wow, that
And
must be.
he'd come, his mom had driven him, like, I think it was an hour and 20 minutes from wherever they'd come from to meet me. And they'd made this just to show me and say thank you. And honestly, I filled up, which might be a bit over the top, but you kind of go, the fact that this guy cared enough and wanted to and spent the time and it made him happy. And oh my God, it made my day. And so this big tall guy, I said, where'd you get the rabbit ears from? And he went, Poundland. But why wouldn't you? He was brilliant. And
Yeah,
again, the fact that someone can make you happy, can make me happy like that by taking the time and care to go, thank you for what you've done. This means something. It's pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah. And I think that that's if you really think about it, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's not about, oh yeah, I made these brilliant programs. Yeah, it's all about it's who's watching them.
Yeah.
You might be doing this work because you're in love with the program itself and you love it yourself, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's about how much the audience love it. And I think that that's what most people and a lot of people in the industry, in the whole of the media industry, no matter what area you're at, I think all they care about is that the audience
Yeah.
get the same pleasure out of it that you do doing it. And do you
But
think that do you feel the same on in that way?
yeah, that's it. You're making this for an audience. You're creating some piece of entertainment that you hope somebody's going to really enjoy. And that's it. I grew up as a massive fan of Star Wars. I got to work with George Lucas on Star Wars Episode One. That's kind of special. To be part of that legacy is incredible. There's a great show called Strange Hill High that was another puppet show, and again, really funny show. Carolina Hearn, Mrs. Merton, she was in that as well, and I was fortunate enough to be in that. We did a stack of characters, and again, just the quality of it. So Josh Weinstein was the showrunner, and he co-wrote "Who Shot Mr. Burns?" There's a Simpsons episode. And then again, like I worked on the reboot of Danger Mouse, and we've worked on new Stingray, and we've done new Thunderbirds, and even like Rory the racing car you mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah.
And again, the narrator for that was Sterling Moss. It's like legends that you're working with. And again, but at the end, a kid's not going to know it was Sterling Moss or what that means.
Yeah.
And it was Sterling Moss and Murray Walker, legendary racing commentator, him. And again, this is a lot of fun, but it's all these little bits of magic that make the show what it is. I mean, Go Jetters. Again, this show on CBeebies. Brilliant show, fantastic animation, super funky tracks. The soundtrack is epic by Banks and Wag, brilliant TV composers. And I get to tear up the furniture as the voice of Grandmaster Glitch at your service. Him. And there's a lot there, and it's what I love doing. It's all I want to do.
And I think that the key thing, and you mentioned Strange Hill High, and I was lucky enough to interview Emma Kennedy,
Oh yeah,
who
yeah. I saw that.
and I do think that the key element for me with Strange Hill High that even though it's supposed to be this weird, bizarre program, I just think that technically it was incredible. And do you reckon that the success of it was because it merged several hybrids of puppetry, animation, and silliness such as a toilet, and if you become a toilet, you become the next king of the toilet. Do you reckon that that's why that show was so impressive and sold so much merchandise? Like I had the massive Strange Hill High school that couldn't fit in my room, so we had to put it in the living room. My parents weren't too impressed that it was in the living room, but it was massive and it's just incredible. And every time I met people that had the same name as the character, and oh yeah, I know someone that's got that, and I can't help but think about it. And do you reckon that the show became popular because of the weirdness and because it merged animation styles.
I think it became popular because it was a great show, full stop. So same with all these things. It was great characters, great story, brilliant production values, great actors, great everything, every element of it. From the the production side, the look of the thing, the model making, all these things. It looked different to anything else on TV. So Stranger High was rod puppets
Yeah.
with CGI faces,
Mm.
which I hadn't seen done in that way ever, not to that extent. And it worked very well. And it allowed them to create this whole new kind of look, this whole kind of world. It's like we were saying before, when you see something, you go, I think I'm seeing that for the first time. That's exciting. But in the end, it could look as techy and clever as anything. But if the characters are dull and you don't care the stories, and then nah, Jurassic Park. You look at the first time we saw CGI dinosaurs. Well, it looked amazing, but if the film hadn't been any good, if the story wasn't any good, you wouldn't care. You go out because it would just be a good tech demo.
Or it'd be Jurassic World. Um,
Oh, you are a brutal man.
and
He starts off by giving Sooty a hard time, then he kicks in Jurassic World.
I think that Stranger High is because of it was at that time where in my life anyway where children's TV was it was in the next stage. So it was before my time. Children's TV was pinnacle, amazing, everyone loves it. But then it stuck on that path, and everyone thought this is incredible. And I think Stranger High was one of those things that because you remember the story on the edit on it's on the iPlayer currently, and it's still rememberable and you still remember moments. I can mention the toilet situation with the golden toilet brush cleaner and the fact that even I might get this wrong, but the fact that Richard Ayoade looks very similar to his character in the show,
Yeah.
which is just brilliant because it fits his personality. And when you watch behind the scene of Blue Peter, your appreciation of it just grows, and I think that that's what animation and that's what these productions do because no matter what it is, at the end of the day, it's impressive because it's that successful and that exciting.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to a thing that we keep returning to, which is it was practical sets. It was real. You look at it and you realize this actually existed. So you can tell stories using all kinds of different mediums, but when it's actual practical effects, real puppets, there's been performers that it's come from a point of view of how they decide to make these creative choices. It does make a difference. You can still have, you look at some of your favorite films, animation that is completely created in a different way, but there's a heart and soul behind puppets, muppets, stop motion, practical effects that I think we particularly connect with. Because in the end, I was thinking about this. It kind of hit me. I was watching it went to just a live show a few weeks ago, and you realize here's like 10,000 people that have all come together because they want to see the real person on stage, or they want to see that band on the stage, and it's a healthy reminder that actually it's about your work, your performing something, creating a new audience, building this new community of fans for this particular thing, who, when it all comes together, you might all just want to meet up in this one place, and it might just be 5 people chatting about it at a Comic-Con, or it might be 10,000 people at a Comic-Con, it might be however many people at the live show. We'll do Strange Hill High on Ice. Tom Mason on ice. Tom Mason on ice now.
On my bum in like the first 4 seconds. I'll get on there and go, whoops, and I'll be scooching. And so as we get to the alleyway, the ginnel of the end,
So it's
um,
very final.
and what upcoming projects have you got that you're working on that you are allowed to talk about?
Oh, well, that stuff's it then. There's a new animation I'm working on. Probably shouldn't have even said that. That we continue recording next week. Can't tell you that though. There's a new huge thing that I can't even give you a clue as to what it is, but I'm guessing it'll be out within the next couple of months. So, well, I'll be able to let you know about that. What else we got? There's a massive new game from Sega, called Two Point Hospital, published by Sega. It's this huge game, and so we've done Two Point Hospital, Two Point Campus, and Two Point Museum came out literally a couple of weeks ago. And I'm the voice of the when you play this game, there's a radio station, and I'm the voice of the radio DJs. So in the morning, it's good morning from Two Point Radio. It's me, Ricky Hawthorne, in the morning. And if you're coming to the hospital to get your spleen scraped out this morning, bring some change for the slot meter, as once again the electricity is on the wonk. And then after that, after Ricky is Sir Nigel Bickleworth, who sees anyone other than oneself as abject scum. And then following him, later on in the evening, there's Harrison Wolf, the conspiracy guy. Aliens are real, you know, Tom. I have pictures, and if I can't find them, I will create them. They're watching you, Tom. And then I'm the voice of these commercials as well for cheesy gubbins. you know, they make everyone's favorite thing to eat, cheesy gubbins. And there's a new one as well for there's a character. It's all very very like this and very ethereal, and it's a new game called Meat Wizard. Can you defend yourself against Meat Wizard? It's particularly bonkers. So that's just come out. Then there's a couple of new things I'm working on. There's an animation, we've got games, other bits, and other stuff that I probably shouldn't even go near.
And
I've got a new vacuum.
oh, and I can't remember what it is, and I'll briefly mention it. But there is I think he was in GTA, but someone had recorded a brand new episode. Oh, that was it. It was Andy Zoltzman had mentioned that in a video game where there's an element where you're driving and you can turn the radio on, a new episode of his podcast
Okay.
was made specifically for the game.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I like
And he was
that.
slightly concerned that people just sit in the car and listen to the episode because they make up news stories and they make up all the segments because it's an actual like pocket. It's named
It's a thing within a thing.
yeah, but it's
I had that happen to me. I had that happen a few years ago. My messages just blew up, and I had a bunch of people get in touch saying, "Have I just heard you on Big Bang Theory?" I went, what? And they said, "Yeah, you're on Big." And I was watching. They were watching an episode of Bob the Builder in the background on Big Bang Theory. They're hearing, and he could barely, but it was, can we fix it? Yes, we can. Come on, Scoop, Wendy, let us go. No, this is a real.
Wow, that wow, that's amazing. So, as we plonk ourselves at the rock bottom, the end of our interview, we've washed up the shore. We've come to the end. I don't know where I'm going with this analogy, but
This is very philosophical, Tom.
So, without giving away your home address, where can people track you online?
So look, let me get my PIN number. I'll give you the long number on the front of the card and the 3 digits on the back. So, what was the question? Whereabouts in the world am I?
Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Oh, well, I am at Marc Silk, which is MarCsilk. So that's for X Twitter, Facebook, and then for the Instagrams, I am Marc Silk Voice. Because for some reason, someone else took Marc Silk. So yeah, or you can go to the website, which is www.marksilk.com. I'm also on YouTube. And also on this chair, which is very comfy. Excellent lumbar support, don't you know, Tom?
And so there we have it. Thank you for letting me interview you.
Oh, thanks for the chat, Tom. I've really enjoyed chatting. You know your stuff.
Yes, I do.
You're one of the good ones.
Yes. And so there we have it. Another glorious, amazing dictionary defying. I swallowed the dictionary, then spat it back out because it was a little bit too dry. And so we have more interviews coming your way soon because I will never rest until I've dominated the celebrity world. Um, well, technically, I've interviewed all the celebrities possible, and even got to the point where I want to have that reaction of Olivia Colman when she was so excited she nearly cried herself to sleep when she got given a Blue Peter badge. That is the atmosphere we all want. Um, just because she was in Paddington in Peru.
Oh
So
yeah.
there we have it. And remember, no